how long you've been trading for, and what's the reason. Because a lot of people, I think, when we go into investment, especially within the financial market, there's a complete different reason when you go from one person to another. So state that reason and what is your goal, right? So I think that's how we're going to start it off. Your name, how long you've been trading for in terms of experience, and what is a goal that you want, a reasonable one. Everybody want to make $1 million. Shit, I want to make $1 billion. You feel me? But we need a real goal. We need a reasonable goal. So
I'm cool with $1 million, bro. I'm cool with $1 million. I don't need $1 billion to be okay.
Yes. So before we start, Justin, guys, this is Justin that's gonna help us with that presentation. But before we start, we'll let Abby go first because she's the first one I see on the list. So Abby, introduce yourself and your name, experience, and how long you been trading for.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abby Joseph. I am a tax accountant in the Tampa, Florida area. I've been trading for about, I would say, a year. What is my goal? My goal is to build generation wealth. My goal is to build 5-generation wealth and to make sure all of my generations are debt free.
Nice. Well said.
Beautiful. Well said. Next, we got Jermaine McLean, Mr. Big Germs. What's up, man?
Oh shit. All right. Everybody, Jermaine McLean, aka Germ. Contractor by profession. I started trading about a little bit over a year. But what I was doing basically was joke in comparison to when me and Big Will link up, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think my trading experience and knowledge kind of take a different flight after that. I'm kind of like still getting it. I'm not really perfect at it, but yeah, a little bit over a year. And my goal really, I ain't gonna lie, everybody want to make money out of this shit, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the objective, So it's like, I'm gonna say I'm in line with that objective, but I'm not gonna lie. I want to be debt free for the rest of my life. You feel me? I hate debt, like for real. Not type of debts, like any type of debt. Feel me? So it's like that's my objective, to be debt free my entire remaining days on earth. That's about it.
Yes.
You owe me $1, Germ. So that's your first debt right there.
Oh shit. Okay,
we
Phil,
just happy to see you in a car.
Oh nah.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna keep it organized. Guys. So next we have Mr. Shazam, Spike City.
What up?
Calvin. What's going on, bro?
How you doing? I'm Calvin, Spike City. Funny guy, student doctor, 3rd-year medical student. And let's see, what do I want to do? I gotta pay off this debt. I'm gonna be $250 deep after this. Ooh. So trying to get started. Making some money. I've been trading for 2 years about, until Will taught me how to do options, and now it's just opening some gates.
Yes,
but that's about it.
Sir.
Nice.
Beautiful. Next on the list, we have Mr. Tyreek Colvin. What's going on, bro?
What's going on? My name is Tyreek Colvin. I work for National Grid, 24 years old. I've been trading for about, I think, 6 months now. And my goal for this is pretty much to generate enough income to pay my rent.
I'll bet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a start. Next, we got Mr. Rowe. What up, bro?
Let's go, bro. What's going on, everybody? So, my name is Leon, aka Roland. I do a few things: construction, maintenance, security. But my goal for this, I've been trading for at least like seven months. But my goal for this is to like at least touch like $500,000 in a year and a half.
In a year and a half?
A year and a half, or 2 years.
Realistic. That's realistic.
A realistic goal.
I'm hoping for you.
And it's basically just take care of my family.
Sir, those are beautiful. Yes, sir. Beautiful. Next on the list, we have Mr. Samuel Owusu. What's up, bro?
Not much, man. I've been trading, I say, in about less than a year. My real profession was a software engineer, and ever since I joined MRT, I've been slowly, climbing up the ropes, trying to
Nice.
get out of debt and create generational wealth. But
Mm-hmm.
that's about it.
Nice.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's beautiful, beautiful. Next, we got Mr. Savi, the funny guy from DC. Savi, you here with us, bro?
Where you at, man?
He probably on a date.
Yeah, man, this guy's always on the move. All right, so next, we're gonna skip Sabi for now. We have Danesa. I don't want to pronounce her name wrong. I'm completely sorry if I did or if I am pronouncing it wrong. Dana, is that your name?
It's Danaika, Kika for short.
Danaika, okay. Can I just call you D then?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, for sure. Can you just please tell us your name, how long you've been trading for, and what is one goal?
So my name is Danaika, and I just joined your group last night. I work as a program director with adults with special needs, and I just started trading I'm new to this, and I basically opened my account last week. So I'm trying to learn as much as I could. And one of my friends was the one who referred me to you guys. So my goal is to learn and collect these coins.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We're gonna take care of you. Next, we have somebody that I haven't spoken to a while, Miss Diane. What's going on, Diane? We got Swag City here for you.
Oh, damn, my girl's here. How you doing?
Damn, why you gotta put me on blast for?
Sorry, we'll keep our business private. We'll keep our business private. That's my bad.
I'm sorry, guys. I've just been working like a slave this past week, and things are
Making
just
that money.
hectic. I guess that's what I signed up for. But I'm not sure what you guys were talking about. But hi, I'm Diane. For those who don't know,
just tell us your name, what you do, your experience as a trader, how long you've been trading for, and what is one goal for 2021 at least, or in trading.
Okay, I'm Diane. I'm a registered nurse. I've been trading for, I don't know, maybe April, like officially. I'm more of a swing trader just because I don't really have the time to day trade like I would like to. What was the other question that you said?
Hey, Diane, me and you got to talk more. Swing trading is all I do.
What's the objective?
On that one.
What's the objective?
Yeah, what is the objective in terms of a goal that you have?
My goal is basically to be in profit for the week. I try my best not to give back money to the market. So if I make something, my goal is to keep it. Probably like 5%. At least try to hit a 5% per trade. That would be great. So that's my goal. And yeah, I don't know if I answered all the questions.
I think that's beautiful, and not to cut it off, that's a reasonable goal. That 5% return, if you could average that per day. The S&P averages about 18 to 20 something percent annually. So if you can average that on a day-to-day basis, at the end of the week, you're looking at what? 25%, and you just beat the S&P on an annual basis. So that's a reasonable goal that you could definitely get into. So I really do appreciate the way you broke that down. Next on the list, we have ECB New York. Miss T, what's going on?
Hello out there in TV land, everyone. My name is Tawana. I am a New York native, but I'm actually in sunny Florida, so praise God right now because I have to deal with all of that snow. I have been trading for a year. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I just hustle, anything from Amazon to like trucking to I do weddings, stuff like that. Like I just like hustling, like it's just in my blood. And I want to create generational wealth for my family. I have 26 nieces and nephews, so I just think I want to give them opportunities and things of that sort.
26?
Yeah, 26. My family, we
Ooh.
get it in. Seven kids. I'm the
Yo.
only girl. 6 boys, 1 girl. I'm the youngest.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So I need to make
Next,
money.
yeah, no, for sure. That's exactly what we're here for. And we're
Yo,
gonna get
props to mom on that one. Jesus. Yo.
But yes, next on the list we have somebody that just came in here. Miss Money, what's going on?
Hey.
You able to talk?
At work. What do you need to know?
It's
Oh no,
Saturday.
if you got it's fine.
It's
We just wanted to
Saturday.
know exactly.
I
We just wanted to know
understand that, but
exactly.
is somebody gonna pay me to stay home?
No, that's fine. That's fine. We just know your name, your experience as a trader, and what is one goal.
My name is Mami. My experience as a trader. I've been with you guys since when, like maybe before August, I think. Right before August. I need to get better at charts. Making more money on investments, like picking up stocks and holding them longer term. I'm doing better that way, but I need to actually find time to learn the charts.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Beautiful thing. Next, we have Mr. Tate. What's going on, Mr. Tate?
Hey, what's going on? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro. Tell us your name, your experience as a trader, and what is one goal.
All right, well, my name is Brandon, and I'm from North New Jersey. Basically, I've been trading, I say, not too long. I've been since spring of last year. And my goal really is to add to add to different streams of income. You know, yeah, I'm a truck driver by trade, and like 2019 was a real bad year for me. So losing that truck income, it made me realize that I needed something else also. So that's my goal really, to add to different things where I can buy back some time.
For sure, bro. Definitely, man, you're in the right place. Next we got Mrs. Rosa. What's going on, Rosa?
Hi guys. So I'm Rosa. I'm from New York, and I'm an administrator. And I just started trading about a month ago. And I kind of want to do. I'm doing trading now, but I would like to be more of an investor. So I'm kind of learning. I have a 13-year-old daughter. I just opened an account for her too. So just growing the account, and I really want to make 100K by the end of the year. That's my
Nice.
goal.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yep.
Next we have Emmanuel Darcy's. What's going on, man? Going once, going twice, and going to 3 times. So we're gonna move into the.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Can you hear us? Can you please tell us your name, how long you've been trading, and what is one goal for the year?
Yeah, just say it. My name is Emmanuel Dowsey. So I'm starting trade like 1 month ago, and this is feel my expectation. So, and I want to get more detail, more strength, more knowledge to keep going.
For sure. No, that's beautiful goal right there. That's a beautiful goal right there.
Welcome, welcome.
So next we have Mr. Tafari22. What's going on, bro?
How's it going on, everyone? What's up, bro? My name is Tafari Taylor, born and raised Brooklyn, New York. Just started getting aggressively in trading as far as a month ago. As of last year, I was just really doing it on my own. Since I joined MarketRushTrading, I really learned a lot about charting. My goal is to pretty much develop and right now I'm taking up classes for Python. So to develop a bot to do the trading automatically. As you see, there's a lot of bots for different functions. So I'm in the process of doing so. It's a lot of testing, but it's not easy as it looks. And since I've joined, I've been seeing profits. So I love the team and definitely see myself growing to be a high professional trader.
Definitely. Definitely.
Beautiful. What is it, Jerm? That's big money things, right?
Big money thing. I love that. I love that. I love that.
But yeah, let's go into the next. Let's move into the next person. We got one of my favorite right there, MRT Jimmy. What's going on, bro?
Yo, what's good, fam? How everybody feeling?
Up.
Yes,
Good,
sir.
good.
Yes, sir. Yo, my name is Tim, but y'all can call me Jimmy. Everybody call me Jimmy. I've been trading a little bit under a year now, and my biggest goal, I got 3 goals, but my biggest goal is to have generational wealth and to spread the knowledge and wealth with people who just want it, you know, because us as like African Americans, you know, we've been through so much, you know, we just have to each one to teach one, you know, so that's my goal.
Yes, sir. That's a beautiful goal, man. Beautiful goal.
Definitely.
I think next we have, if I'm not mistaken, we do have Mr. Williams.
Yo.
What's going on, bro?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just tell us your name, how long you've been trading for, and what is one goal you have for 2021?
2021. Okay. So my name is Williams. Live in New York City. I've been trading for somewhere between 1.5 to 2 years. My goal is actually to become a clinical psychologist, but at the same time, I know that I don't plan on getting rich through that. So here I am, you know, learning to trade. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, last but not least, we're going to introduce Justin, one of my bros. Very smart, intelligent guy. And he's basically going to walk us through, you know, one of the main stock that we actually invested in today, and is going to break it down for you from step 1 to step 2500, right? To infinity, rather. But it is up to you guys at the end of the day to deep into the research and see how he broke it down for himself, what make the stock, you know, valuable to him as to why he wants to put his money in there to invest, right? Again, full disclosure, this is not a trade, this is an investment, right? So you really have to, even with the information that we're giving right now, this is our conviction as to why we went into picking up the stock based on financial data, based on understanding the service or product that the company providing out there, and the demand for it into the future, right? In terms of how much more people will, like how they will attract towards the stock. Will they buy their products? Will they be in hospitals? Will they be in whatever, healthcare, whatever it is, different governments around the world. So Justin, introduce yourself, tell us your age, bro, tell us how long you've been investing for, and right after that, we can get right into it.
All right, man, a little bit about myself. Name's Justin, and technically I only have a grade 11 education. I ended up dropping out of high school to join the Army for a while, and then I ended up getting kicked out because I had a disease in my left knee. They wouldn't let me back in. So I just kind of became a factory worker after that. I started trading when I was 27. So about 4 years ago now, I'm 31. And my life savings was only about 12 grand, and I'm almost self-taught. I didn't have really much to learn from. I just kind of started reading stuff. And as of right now, my total assets and stocks sit at just below 200. And Darius has been helping me a lot in the past little while. He's teaching me how to trade options, stuff like that. And my goal is really simple. I want to maintain my blue collar lifestyle that I already live, but I never want to see the inside of a factory again.
Yes, sir. No, that's beautiful. That's kind of like everybody.
Nice. Nice.
So, so before
and
we
Darius.
Yeah.
I wanted to say right quick in here, man, we got a lot of smart people in here. We got like engineers and doctors and nurses and stuff. I ain't even graduate high school, guys. Like you can catch on to this shit. Anyone can do it. You just have to put the work in.
That's a fact. That is a fact. And that is exactly why we get working and, you know, actually speaking to each other, because we could teach each other so much, right? So we definitely get into it. Yo, Sam, are you ready to take notes, bro?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Justin, you got the floor, bro. Take it slow. I'm gonna be asking you some questions as you go, just to kind of really make it as liquid as possible so everybody can understand. So the floor is yours, bro. But
And
everybody,
first
please,
off, if anyone has any questions, what's that?
no, hold on. Everybody, please mute your mic, right? And then right after Justin give his little presentation, we're gonna get right into the questions you guys have about the stock that we're gonna talk about, or in terms of how he breaks down his analysis as to why he wants to put his money into the stock. So right after that, we'll get into it. But Justin, the floor is yours, bro.
Today we're here to talk about CANNATAB Therapeutics. At the end of all this, I can send you guys a video I did. I'm the first guy on YouTube to do a video on these guys. I don't even think it has 100 views yet. I don't know. I started buying this company over a year ago when my friend Amanda introduced it to me. And as soon as she told me what it was, immediately, I jumped all over it. What they do is they're creating non-synthetic cannabis and CBD tablets as medicine. So for pain, for arthritis, for inflammation, for sleep, and they have going all the way up to 50 milligram CBD capsules they're creating now. For the first 8 or 9 months I owned the stock, I just kept buying it. I kept trading for it. Because in the end goal, what they're trying to do is eliminate all these third-party clinics everybody has to go to because the doctor can't prescribe it. And CANNATAB is going to solve that problem. They're making everything pharmaceutical grade. Most of the tablets out there are synthetic, which means most of it's not even really, it's just like filler ingredients. It's not even all THC and CBD. They're fixing that problem too. Oh, so this is sweet. But yeah, in the long term, that's what their goal is. For the last 9 months, there wasn't too much news. It was kind of just floating around. But then the big news started coming out. They started receiving patents for their hard pill tablets going forward 17 years, American and Canadian patents. Then they received one for, I forget the second one right now. You guys got to forgive me. I'm not too great at sharing all that information, like remembering talking in front of people, but they just got their second patent approved. And now they're officially post-sales as well. They made their first 1.7 million in sales. But the biggest thing to me is they have a first mover advantage now. They recently shipped $400,000 of their cannabis tablets as medicine to Australian hospitals and clinics. Now, they're the first company in the world, I believe, that I've researched that has sent cannabis as medicine to another country from a different country. So basically international shipping. And that could be huge for the future. Their share structure is sitting somewhere along the lines of around 32, 33 million shares, I believe. And between the CEO, the CFO, the next guy in charge, and all the first round investors, they own about 40% of the total stock. So there might only be, outside of guys like me and Darius holding 50% of the float might be locked up by holders already. So it's really easy to make this thing explode, especially if they start making a couple million, this thing could blow. And I'm looking at it as a long-term investment. This is not a swing trade. This is a long-term investment. These guys can really grow and they have a really good idea. The biggest piece of news they had last year was hiring a man named Larry Latowski. Now, this guy used to be at the top of CATS, which is like the parent company of Shoppers, Drug Mart, Rexall, and PharmaSave. And I think he sold PharmaSave for something like, Rexall for 6 or 7 times what he bought it for. But he could have went to work for any company in the world, and this guy went to work for CANNATAB, right? They were after him for like 4 years straight. And as soon as they got their first patent, he took the job. And like this industry is this guy's back door. He used to run it. Like he wants to eliminate third-party clinics and have it be insured by Green Shield, things like that. I don't know what other insurance names are, but he wants to have it covered by Green Shield so that anybody working who has insurance, you can now go to your doctor in the future and get this prescribed to you, so you don't have to pay $70, $80 a month or whatever it might be, to get whatever you need it for. Like I pay $70 a month to use it for sleep myself. And another reason I really like the company too, this is a personal reason. At one point I was addicted to sleeping pills, prescription, and I had to go through detox twice for that. And ever since this weed oil came out and all this stuff, it's really been helping me, and I've never gone back. I've never relapsed on any of that stuff. And what CANNATAB's doing is helping people like that get rid of the opioids and still solve their problems. No damage to the heart, no damage to the kidneys, no damage to the liver. And when you're talking specifically about like millennials, and you're talking about especially Gen Z, the people below us who are like in high school, turning up to 20 years old, stuff like that, they're all really going to be for this because like the medical world's changing. I think, in my personal opinion, cannabis is going to interrupt the opioid sector a lot, and the pharmaceutical companies don't like it, but they're also going to be forced to jump on board, and that's really, really important. These are just some of the major details why I like them so much, and I'm going to continue to trade and buy more constantly. They're my biggest holding in my portfolio by far, and I think that I mean, if they hit a 300 million market cap, they're going to be a $10 stock, right? If their market cap hits half of what Afria is, I mean, at 1.5 billion, you're talking about a $50 stock because the share structure is so low and their revenue is going to be so high, and their balance sheet is as clean as it gets. They haven't diluted any stock. They don't create warrants for people except for Larry Latowski. He has warrants, but they eliminated all their old warrants so the stock wouldn't be diluted. I mean, and their balance sheet has zero debt. They owe no debt to anybody. So as soon as they make money, they're going to be positive earnings per share. They're going to be positive EBITDA, positive cash flow. I'm almost assuming within 1 or 2 quarters right out of the gate. So we're looking at, by June, they'll be positive earnings per share. I'm almost certain of it, especially if they get more sales between now and then, which they should. And through the grapevine, I've heard that they're getting calls from more calls from Australia, Europe, and Mexico, because there's a lot of interest in these things after the patents went through. No one can take their idea. Everybody wants a piece of this pie. And they also have a deal with MetaPharm Labs in Canada, and that first sale went for 1.1 million. So there's not too much to talk about with the revenue right now, because like their first revenue was this quarter. Before that, they were a pre-revenue company, and I owned them for a year before that. I was buying them back at 30 cents, and I was trading away like my Apple and my Google and my bank stocks for it. I just wanted as much of it as I could get. Because if this does work, I can never guarantee something 100%, but if this does work, I mean, 100 million in sales alone could take this stock to, over $1 billion market cap. And right now it's sitting at possibly like 30 million market cap. And that would even be like a 30 times X from here, just on 100 million in sales, based on a 10 times earnings. In case anyone doesn't know what that means, basically, if you made 100 million at 10 times earning, the market cap would be $1 billion. I always use 10 times as a standard, but even if they were to do half that, right, it's still a huge number. Even if they did 50 million in sales, the market cap's still 500 million. At 10 times, you're looking at a $15 stock off the bat. Right now, it's less than $1. But like I said, I'm buying it more for the idea of what they're doing. They're trying to get in this opioid section and say, screw you, this is healthier for the body. It's not going to have negative effects. It's not going to hurt people. And things that really hit close to home, like my mom won't hurt when she comes home from work anymore. My dad might be able to ride a horse again, right? Because he has arthritis in his back, or he can swing a golf club and go golfing, 18 holes. That kind of stuff's important too, right? Like, we're all going to get older one day too. We're going to be hurting in some way or form. And I don't want to be taking all those Tylenols and all those other weird prescription drugs for pain that just hurt your liver in the long run. Why would you take something to stop pain and damage your organs? I mean, the education's out there now. This ain't the 80s no more, in the 70s, right? Everybody wants this stuff. I can see Darius. I think he's showing all these cool things. The other thing too is why I really keep buying the stock right now is you're looking 6 months ahead. In their Q1 2020, their Q1 2021 is when they're going to have their online store available, where they're going to start putting things for purchase. in the next month or two, they're going to start having some things on the Ontario website, and I think in some somewhere in New Brunswick as well through MetaFarm Labs and Shoppers. So they're going to be getting, they're just starting to get product out. Like they're past all the research and development stage. Now they're actually into commercial sales. So this is a big deal, and the stock's still under $1. So like I said, man, once they start making money and this starts catching on, it's just going to be a domino effect. And the biggest thing that I think they have is Darius, if you can scroll to the top of this page, I don't know exactly where it is in here, but they're showing they're gonna have an online pharmacy, and people like even discreetly, if you want to, you can go on an online pharmacy. You can choose which if you need it for sleep or for pain or for a different problem or like all day relief or nighttime rest or relaxation or whatever you choose. They're going to have different categories, and they're going to pair you with like actual doctors that can really prescribe this stuff to you and tell you exactly, like, based on what you're telling them, give you exactly the closest thing that you're going to need. And you sign up with them and they're going to ship it to you. And they've already started it at some workplaces. If you order from them, there's a third-party reimbursement they have with some workplaces. Like I work at Chrysler, I think they have it. Like say if I were to bring my prescription to my union, for example, and they were to do all the paperwork for it, I might get reimbursed at 30% of what it costs, to get that prescription to me. And like, that's not everything, but it's a start in the right direction, right? It's better than nothing. It's a good way for insurances to start wanting to cover this stuff. And I also like the online clinic because, it does provide that privacy for like maybe the older people or like people who have really high status jobs. They might not talk about, oh, I take weed pills, right? That could still have a negative connotation to it, things like this. But it even allows them to be very discreet, and it kind of changes the realm of thinking, because it's not a joint, it's not an oil, it's not a vape. It's literally a medication in a little tablet form you get every 30 days. So it kind of has that prescription standard like every other prescription. So it's a little bit easier to accept. I think that's a big deal as well. Just trying to think of some other things here. Going back on everything I said, by far the most important thing that this company has is Larry Letowski, man. Just going back on that shit. He was in charge of Shoppers, Rexall, and PharmaSave. I can't stress how important enough that is that he chose to come to CANNATAB and work for these guys. And the last thing I like, the last reason I like this company a ton, last thing I have to add here is like say you've anybody in here ever heard of like Afria or Aurora or Canopy, like the biggest weed companies out there? They have to pay for the land, they have to pay for the employees, they have to pay for the plant nutrients, the soil, the water, right? They have to pay for land taxes, they have to pay for property tax, they have to pay for cleanup, they have to pay for disposal, right? What CANNATAB does, they don't pay for any of that, right? So that's not overhead to them. Their cost to run production is excessively low. Like they're gonna get money from they're gonna get products from third party like oil and stuff like that. Like their last deal with MetaFarm for 1.1 million, they're gonna make a killing off that because the machines they use are already paid for, and the place that they have isn't that big, and they're renting it so that it's month to month. It might only cost them, I think, if I did the math last time I checked, it was like 2.4 million a year to rent the space, which is nothing when you're talking about, how much those pills can be worth. Like I'm just in my garage right now, little tiny garage. How many bottles of 30 pills can I fit in my garage, and how much money would that be worth, right? And then when you're talking about storage, it's easy as shit to store too, right? You could probably fit 10,000 tablets in a box this big, right, in these little containers, but how much are they worth, right? They have super long shelf life. You don't have to worry about the weed going bad. You don't have to worry about mold or bad doses. It's made by the machines, and it's easy to store. And compared to all the other weed companies selling weed, what I care about is their products this big, and it has a long shelf life, and there's no overhead really. Like they're going to have overhead, obviously, but they're not paying for all the things that I mentioned. So all that can be profit back into the company to grow. They don't need a lot of space for what they do, and they don't need a lot of space for what they store. And that's why I like them so much. The biggest thing is all that overhead that another company would have will essentially be profit for these guys. And not to mention anything medical, if it gets their drug identification numbers, which they're working on, I mean, anything pharmaceutical will blow recreational out of the water. I mean, you could have one pharmaceutical drug that's worth more than Afria right now, just because it's one drug in a bottle this big, and they're trying to have it for every single thing that can ail or make a person sick or hurt, or, you know, they're trying to make one for just about everything. They have like 12 or 13 more patents pending, and they just got their last 2 or 3 approved. And it's a long process, but they applied for all of them 4 and 5 years ago. So a lot of them are starting to come through now. And as soon as they come through, they can get the drug identification numbers and no one can take their idea. The other thing I love is that they're going to have majority of the shares, so nobody can take them over. Nobody can buy them out unless they give up their share count. So it's their idea. And I love their idea. No one can change them, right? Oh, there's the bilayered tablets right there. Yeah. That's one of the 2 patents they just received, and it goes forward to 2020 or 2037. That's 17 years. No one can take this idea. And when they own 50% of the stock, no one can take their stock. No one can take it over. No one can change their game plan. That's what I think is huge. And what's on the screen right now is definitely a lot of their biggest things that just took place. A lot of their biggest news came in the last, like, I'd say 4 or 5 months. Before that, it was kind of stagnant with news because they were trying to get everything going. But now that we're at official commercial sales, I'm just waiting for next quarter to see when the next big one's going to come. And I hope it should be worth more than MetaFarm Labs. Labs could be a repeat customer. And the big thing is Australia, because Australia literally said it's only 400 grand. That's pennies in the stock world, but that's peanuts. But the fact that they accepted another country's EU and GMP certified tablets to their hospitals and clinics to be used, not in a trial, to actually be used for their clients as real medicine is a big deal. That's literally a continent accepting medicine from another continent. And it's the first time it ever happened. So I assume a lot more is going to get sent out that way. And CANNATAB was the first one to do it. I also give full disclosure on this. Everyone should do their own research as well. I mean, anything can happen to any stock, and anything can go wrong any given Sunday, but it's all calculated risk, and I'm calculating enough risk that I want this to be my biggest position. This trade could get me out of the factories forever. And sometimes it might sound like I drank the company Kool-Aid a little bit, but like, I've gone back and I've watched every one of their videos for the last 3 years. Not one of the videos overstepped the other one. Not one of the videos when he spoke didn't come true. They're always on point with their timelines, and they've never really, like, they don't make estimates they can't keep, right? If there's something that's coming, they can say it. If there's not, like, they won't give revenue projections that aren't there. They'll just tell you what they sold. Very honest guy. I've talked to the CEO multiple times. Well, the old CEO, Larry Letowski's the CEO now, but like back last year. And he said he's not about giving false projections. He's not about trying to pump his stock. He's not about trying to dilute the shareholders. He just wants a positive earnings per share and a good price to earnings ratio. And that's what his goal is. And he's had like 4 or 5 offers for below market value. And I've seen them all when they came out. And him and the CFO turned everything down because they refuse to sell below market value. They have a good idea, and now people are coming to them at market value, or sometimes a bit above market value, to get their stuff. Like when MetaFarm Labs did it, they paid a little premium on it because they wanted it so badly. When they shipped it to Australia, I think there was a bit of a premium on that because they wanted it so badly, right? Because this is a brand new thing. Everyone's selling weed. Who's selling weed medicine? I haven't found anyone but these guys, and I think that's a huge industry that's gonna change over a long period of time. Just going back in my notes here, I think I covered a lot of everything. I hope you guys were taking some notes. Outside of that, like just really quickly, I have all this other stuff on track here. Like their equity looks good. Their liabilities have gone down consistently. Their accounts payable have gone down consistently. They own no debt to anybody. They're a zero debt company, and they just made their first 1.7 million, which is massive. Their cash and short-term investments have increased. Their physical assets in the last 2 quarters went from 1 million to 1.7, so $700,000 more in positive assets. Their receivables went down, and over the last 2 quarters, their long-term assets went from 300K to 667K, which is more than 100%. I know it's only 667K, but the fact that they doubled it in 6 months is a huge deal, because that means if these numbers keep going that way, their assets are just going to keep going through the roof because they have no debt to anybody. They don't owe anybody anything, and everything goes back into the company. And they don't need a lot of space for what they do. If they want to expand, they can. The only estimate I would give, if they were to make $10 million this year, this is just like an estimate from January to next January. 10 million on a low scale would give them at 10 times earnings would be 100 million market cap, and that would make the stock triple. So from 70 cents to about $2.40, in my opinion, is an excessively low estimate. I would even say after 1 year, $2 would make me happy because I'm buying a whole bunch anyways. I want that thing to stay low for a while. I want more. But I mean, even over this course of this year, $10 million would make their stock triple, and their last sale alone was 1.7, and they're just getting started. So by the end of the year, it might be possible that they make $10 million in a deal, but I can't promise that, right? I'm just taking like low estimates of what I think they could do. I never like to estimate high. That's really, I think, all the information I could have. I'm just taking a look here. Oh, the last thing that came up a little while ago, the only other thing is they recently got an export license to be able to ship to Europe as well. And the product's been approved by EU and GMP certification. And they haven't shipped any there yet, but they've been told that they can. So it might be like a shipping issue because of COVID. It could be they just haven't had a deal over there yet, but they've been approved to be able to do it. So as soon as they're interested, there's nothing stopping them anymore. They're involved in a 5-year study in Australia. It's the largest research study for weed medicine known to date. Let's see if there's anything else here of real value anyways. Eventually, they're going to start a marketing campaign later this year to physicians and pharmacists. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that. I don't know how all that stuff works, but it's good that they're going to do it. There is no timeline for Health Canada testing because Health Canada can take however long they want. I did ask the CEO this question. I said, when profitable in the future, do you intend on doing any type of share buybacks? And he said, when they're profitable enough, it would be planned for them and they would want to do it. Oh, he's circling that giant off that giant 5-year study there. There might be some more info in there I didn't say. I see Larry Letowski right down there near the bottom there. He explains what he's doing. But yeah, that cannabis study is supposed to be huge, man. Like all of Australia could be taking their medicine in a couple years, right? That's an entire continent buying one company's medicine, right? And that could be a massive deal too. And it says here, I said, once you start making steady revenue and move from, once you start making steady revenue, do you have any plans to update or upgrade to the Toronto Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ? And he said the NASDAQ for certain as a pharma company. And as soon as the TSX allows them and they have enough revenue to support it without having like dig any debt into their balance sheet, they want to upgrade to both, which is a great deal. There was no mention of the New York Stock Exchange, but I mean, they have to be a huge player to be able to do that. But I mean, one step at a time. They're still under $1, so have to give them some leeway there. That is the last of the information from the notes that I have. Let's see, just double checking. The only other small thing I can have or add is that they do it's not promised, but it's expected that they will be shipping more to Australia and begin shipping to Europe, but there's no number on that specifically. No one knows how much, but I mean, it's a start. If they're shipping to 2 different continents, that's a big deal. That's worth the money will come down the road, but the fact that they're the first ones to do it, I think, is the biggest deal. I think that's the end of my notes. There's really nothing else I can really share. I hope you guys were taking notes. I know a lot about a little, but I don't know a little about. I only know a little about a lot. So the stuff that I own, I know everything. And if you guys have any questions on charts or anything like that, I recommend you ask Darius. I couldn't read a chart to save my life or tell you anything about that shit. I prefer information over stimulation, and I do all my research when the market's closed in a quiet place so I can analyze all this kind of stuff. But as far as fast trading, that's not for me. That's not what I do. Speed trading, day trading, whatever you want to call it. And this is not a swing trade. This is a long-term investment, in my opinion, because I see a lot of value here in the future. But like I said, any questions referring to trading, you have to ask Darius, because I ask him all the time myself. I'm just getting into options and stuff, and he's going to show me everything. Like I only trade one way, and it's a strategy I use. So that's about
beautiful.
That's about it on my end, guys. That's about it on my end. Yeah.
So,
sorry if I dragged
just
on. I like sharing everything.
No, you good. We about to break it down even further. So just to break it down, there was a tons of information in terms of the value of the stock around $2 to $3 or even $20 based on future earnings and future cash flow. So now he said a lot, right? We spoke about EBITDA, we spoke about PE ratio, he spoke about market cap, he spoke about assets and liabilities, accounts payable, accounts receivable. It even went into cash flow, right? Within the cash flow statement, we have 3, I think, is the operation. We have financing, and last but not least, I think we have investing, right? So Justin, if you would rather, can you explain to them when you mentioned about if they keep going on this realm that they're going in, how are they going to achieve that positive earnings per share, right? So I want you to explain what is EPS, what is earnings per share, and why should an investor look at that, right? It is one of the metrics that we use to value companies, right? To see where value is, but it's not the entire thing, right? It's so many things that comes into it. So just explain to them what EPS is, and as to why within the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years, or possibly earlier than that, this company right here might or will reach a positive EPS.
Well, first off, I think they're going to reach a positive EPS in their first 2 quarters of profit. Like they have no debt to anybody. Positive earnings per share. I mean, last quarter they posted nothing as revenue, and their earnings per share is only negative 2 cents. I mean, their balance sheet, they owe nothing. They owe absolutely nothing. But in my opinion, earnings per share is the absolute number 1 most valuable number to any stock, so long as, well, just basically period. It's the most important number, period, because earnings per share shows for every share that they have, how much have they made. So if there's a 35 million share float and they made 70 million and they owe nothing, there'll be $2 positive earnings per share. Amazon, last time I looked, I could be wrong on this, but they were like positive, $12 or $13 a share. So for every share that they had, they were positive cash flow $12 for every 1 share, for example. Or like Costco, I think they were positive $8 or $7 a share. So for every share that they own, they have $7 more than that in actual revenue. That was all profit. And when that profit comes in and it is profitable, it makes the stock even more valuable, because if the earnings per share is in the negative, that means they're putting out more than they're taking in. But CANNTAB was literally a startup company 4 years ago. They refused to take on any debt that they can't pay back within 30 days. and they refuse to dilute their stock or their warrants. So if they were to make on this next quarter like 1.7 million, and there's 35 million shares and they have no debt, their earnings per share, I'm just rounding here, I'm doing quick math off the top of my head, but even if their earnings per share is 3, 4, 5 cents, that is still better than almost every weed company out there, because like your Aurora, your Canopy, everything except for Afria, I think, is basically negative, because they owe all this money. They have all these debtors collecting debt. Like they have to keep raising all this money. They have to keep diluting their stock. CANNATAB's done none of that. And when earnings per share goes up, so does the trading multiple. So a standard, I would always say, is between like 7 and 10 times earnings. If your earnings per share is through the roof, you could be looking at 15 to 20 times earnings. And in big tech, in like Apple and Google, stuff like that, I mean, some of these things are so high it doesn't even make any sense. Like Tesla is the most overvalued stock in the world, but you still can't bet against it, right? Their earnings per share ain't that high, but Tesla's gonna like have people living on Mars and shit. So I mean, like you can't really you can't bet against Elon Musk. But yeah, that's about it on EPS, man. It is by far the most important number in any stock ever.
Yeah, so just to kind of put that into perspective, guys, another way you guys can look at it is the earnings per share. When you look at it, for every dollar you as the investor invest in that company, that's how much you get back, right? Another way to think about it is they are the net earnings of that company for every one share that the company has. So it is one of the, I would say, valued or most important metrics that we use with other metrics in conjunction to see where value ends. I'm going to ask him a series of more questions that he did spoke about, which we're going to dive into themselves as well. He spoke about EBITDA, right? I know what that is, and I know a lot of people here might know what that is. Can you go into the definition first, and then move into the company reaching positive EBITDA?
Okay, so EBITDA is a bit harder to explain. I've always had a full understanding of earnings per share and not quite as much with EBITDA, but I believe, if I remember right, it's earnings before taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Right.
That's just a whole bunch of jumbled fancy words for basically being positive money after taxes and everything's paid. So after all the employees are paid, after all the taxes are paid, after all the company funds are paid, and like, you know how when you get a paycheck from work, you have a net revenue and a gross revenue? The gross revenue is everything. The net revenue would be what you take home. You can essentially, kind of in a simple format, look at EBITDA as being the net revenue, what you take home after paying everything that's owed to the government and everything like that. It's their paycheck after they pay everything that's owed. And the higher their positive EBITDA is, the more cash they have. And obviously, the more cash they have, the more stock they can buy back, or the more they can grow. And that's what's going to keep investors coming and keep the stock moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, so guys, to put that into perspective again, EBITDA, it literally stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. When we're talking about, different expenses and tangible assets. And it is one of the ways that we could accurately reflect how the firm goes into profitability, right? So that's one of the things that you could use. I think Justin actually put it into, as, explain it as to a baby as he could, right? Because he said that, think about your gross income and think about your net income, right? So the EBITDA is basically everything that you take home for yourself. And the more that they have, that could tell you a little bit about the cash flow, right? The more cash they have, the more buybacks they can have and all that type of stuff. So we'll dive more into that because, of course, again, to put it to perspective, it basically measures the performance of the firm itself or the company that you're trading, right? So it is good when the higher the EBITDA, the better it is. Like Dustin said, it could do share buybacks, it could invest in other stuff to make the company better and all that type of stuff. Next,
And
we're gonna move into
Hey, Darius,
mentioned a little bit.
really quick too. Sorry, man. If anyone's confused on the differences between EBITDA and earnings per share, which is EPS, always think of them as basically being in alignment with each other. They're not going to exactly be the same numbers, but when you read an entire balance sheet or look at a company, if one's really good and you understand one of them, simply put, by default, the other one's probably going to be just as good, because there's no way you can be positive cash flow and have a bad EBITDA, or have a bad EBITDA and have a good cash flow. It doesn't work that way. They're the two closest correlated numbers in any stock. They do have different meanings, but generally, if one's good, they're both good all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's great information. Great information. So next, we're going to move into PE ratio. You spoke a little bit about price to earnings ratio. If you could go dive in deep, not even deep, just a definition, just like paint a picture. What do we mean by PE ratio? What should an investor look for in the PE ratio? What is
Generally, a PE ratio is what's considered to be price to earnings match. So a simple number would be, if you made like, how would I explain this? So the price of the stock to the earnings of the company. So if you made $100 as a company and the market cap is 1,000, you're trading at a 10-to-1 price to earnings, which would mean the market cap invested into the company is worth 10 times what the earnings are, which is generally pretty standard. Anywhere from like 7 to 10 is normal. And then you have your monster companies like Amazon could be above 25, 30, but I mean, there's always going to be those elite group of companies that like the rules don't really apply to them. Like you can buy Amazon blindfolded in a year, you're going to make money, right? But generally speaking, on majority of stocks, I would use anywhere from a 7 to 10. So like, for example, right now, CANNTAB is trading, if they made 1.7 million, they're actually technically trading at like maybe 17 or 18 times right now, but that's also taken in fluctuation because they are a penny stock, right? They're a penny stock that 50% of the float's held by basically guys like me and Darius, small funds, insiders, and first round investors. If that stock wasn't held, it wouldn't be that high, right? So that's what's keeping the price where it is. Technically, the price should be about 50 or 60 cents a stock, but it works in our favor that probably half the stock is eaten up and held, right? It's not being sold. It's just being like thrown away in a vault. No one can touch it. The remaining shares make the price go up even faster. But my estimate would be, if they were to make 10 million, 10-to-1 price to earnings would be 100 million invested, and that would make them a $2.40 stock probably on 10 million in earnings this year. Anyone have any questions on that? Really, I tried to use simple numbers.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Justin. And guys, just to kind of put that into perspective for you guys, the PE ratio is one of the metrics that we use as well in conjunction with other different metrics in terms of value within the company. So what that does for the average investor, it helps us determine the market value of the stock compared to their earnings. We do have two types of, we have the trailing PE ratio, and we have the forward PE ratio, right? Which we're not gonna get too deep into, but in short, just kind of think about it like this, right? The PE ratio shows you what the market is willing to pay today for a stock based on their past earnings, right? Now, you could have a low PE ratio, you could have a high PE ratio. A high PE ratio could mean that the stock price is high relatively to earnings and possibly overvalued. Conversely, the same thing for the low PE ratio, which might indicate that the stock is undervalued relatively to their earnings, which could provide for a better entry, right? But can we go based on high or low PE ratio? Sometimes it comes into play because everything always revert back to the means, right? Reversion to the means. But we also want to use these types of ratios to kind of like find value in certain stocks. We don't just use them by themselves. So now I'm going to move into the next question. So I'm going to move into the next question that I have for Justin. I think everybody knows this, but for educational purposes, what is market cap, right? He spoke of the CANNATAB market cap and what it is right now currently. Can you go into a bit of definition? What is market capitalization and how would you calculate that? Because I think that's one of the easiest one that we could.
All right, market cap's actually pretty simple to explain. Say I'm a company and there's 20 people in this room and you all give me $100. I now have $2,000 as that company, so my market cap is worth $2,000. So the market cap can change constantly, like due to day trading, due to buying, due to selling. But the market cap at the end of the day, when the market closes or before the market opens, when it's stalemate, like when it's nothing's trading, is the total amount of money invested in a company by anyone who bought or sold the stock. So everyone holding the stock at whatever value they bought it at, added all up together, is exactly what the market cap is.
For sure. That's a great explanation, which I think everybody has understand what that is. But guys, again, the market cap literally is what Justin just said, is the company's worth on the open market, right? And also you could think about it as the perception of its future prospects as well, based on what investors are willing to pay in that open market. Next, we won't keep you guys for too long, but these are things that we actually going to talk about. I think Justin went and spoke a little bit in terms of their balance sheet, in terms of assets over liabilities. So Justin, you could go into CANNATAB assets or liabilities again, but please do explain in terms of assets. What are considered assets? What are considered current assets, long-term assets versus current liabilities and long-term liabilities?
1 second. Well, first, an asset is anything that the company owns that's not cash, that has a value. Everybody get that? Like, if your car has a value to you, it's an asset. So if CANNATAB has a couple machines that make their pills, that's an asset to them, right? Something that is going to pay them money, not take it out of their pocket. And a liability would be something like every company has, like the space they're renting. It's considered a liability because they have to pay for that every month as part of their expenses to run the company. And you want their equity and their assets to heavily outweigh their liabilities. And I'm just going into the exact numbers as of last quarter when I checked. Let's see here. Revenue. Yeah, so their equity is currently at 3.6 million, and their current liabilities went down 132K last quarter at 664. So their equity far outweighs their liabilities. They do have accounts payable now, but that's because they literally got their business off the ground. They started making sales. So they kind of, it's automatic. You can't not have that number. Their cash and their short-term investments are currently worth 1.5 million. 2 quarters ago was worth 1.1. So they're increasing their cash and short-term investments. 2 quarters ago, their physical, like this is when I started tracking, when I knew they'd start making money. I owned them before this, but their physical assets, which are anything that has a value. So their machines, their some of their product, they don't, honestly, this company really doesn't have much. That's really all they have. But their physical assets are now worth 1.7 million. Their receivables went from 1.5 million down to 225K, which is massive. And their long-term and other assets have increased about 50% in the last 2 quarters, from 440K to 667. A lot of that probably sounds like mumbo jumbo, but it is a big deal. You have to remember that before I would even say November, they were a pre-revenue company. They weren't making money. So now that they're making money in the last 2 quarters, to see 50% jumps and 40% jumps and 100% jumps and no debt, like that is a big deal if they keep that rolling, right? I'm sure these numbers will drastically change once heavier revenue starts coming in, but you have to take it for what it's worth because they weren't making money and they just started making money last November. So that's really about it for them. in the coming like 3 quarters, there will be a lot more to talk about on that. But of everything I just said, the most important thing is right here. They literally have, well, now they might have 40K, but they literally have no debt going forward. That's the dates. I don't know if you can.
Yeah, guys, beautiful explanation, Justin. So just to kind of put it into perspective for everybody that he just spoke about, with an asset, right, is anything, any item in terms of value owned by that company, right? They don't have much right now, but we have two sides of the assets that we can go over. They can be physical, tangible goods.
Hey, Darius, I think you cut out.
Can you guys hear me now? You can hear me now, Justin?
Yeah, we hear you, Will. I'm hearing you.
Hey, yo, hold up. My internet just disconnected for a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so there could be. No, you good, you good. There could be two types of assets, right, in term categories that we may have. We have the current and long term. And when we think about assets, we have to think about the physical, tangible goods. It could be real estate, computers, office furniture and stuff like that, and other fixtures. But also, there can also be intangible assets such as intellectual property, right? So just kind of to put into perspective for you guys. And then when he moved into the liabilities, what is the liability, right, in a company? It's anything that the company owes in terms of money, right? Which they could be paid through what? Many different ways. It could be paid through money, goods, or services for the company. So you always want to see a company that their assets overweigh their liabilities, because that we could go into many different ratios in terms of current ratio, quick ratio, just to kind of show you in terms of how liquid the company is, right? Like he said, this is a startup. It has a great future in front of it, and they're actually doing things right. And this company has no debt completely. And if they do have any debt, within about a month or so, or 30 days, they look to erase that debt. One of the other things that he spoke about, which I want him to go into a little bit, is in terms of their cash flow from the operations as well as from financing.
I'll do the best I can with the numbers they have. They've only ever made 2 sales so far, which I'm really happy about, for a total of $1.7 million. So this is technically, it's kind of hard to explain that, but technically this is their only cash flow right now. And go back into my notes for that. Sorry, Darius, could you repeat your question one more time? I want to make sure I'm getting the right stuff.
Say that again, Justin.
Can you say your question again? I want to make sure I'm digging up the right info.
So no, in terms of the cash flow, we spoke about the operation cash flow, and in terms of the financing or investment cash flow.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, there will be a lot more to that in a couple quarters, but right now they literally only have 1.7 million in cash flow coming in as real revenue. How much of that's going to be net revenue, I don't know yet, because this is technically their first quarter with revenue. So I will have more information on that. I think their next report comes out. Oh no, their last report just came out, and their sales were in December. So December, January, at the end of February, I would believe. Yeah, their last report was November 30th, I think. So their next report should be February 30th range, or 28th or whatever. And then we should know a lot more about that other cash flow, exactly what the net revenues are, what the gross revenues are, we already know. But how much of that they keep as profit, I'm not sure, but it should be at least some. I mean, 1.7 million with no debt, they're going to be positive earnings per share right out of the gate. And the biggest thing I have to stress with you guys is all the information I gave you today is on a company that costs less than $1. So you have to take it for what it's worth. But I believe that they can make a lot of money. And I believe that this stock can go up, because there's not many stocks under $1 you can find that have all this attached to it. Right? Normally you're lucky to get a press release or an email from a CEO back or something like that. And then these guys, to me, all I see is gold here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one of the other things that we did when the other CEO was in place, we had that Zoom meeting with them, You think we could try to actually get a meeting with them soon, or is that something that you could make happen in the near future?
Yeah, I'll try and get back to you on Monday about that, or maybe Sunday night after the Super Bowl. I'll probably be drinking during the Super Bowl, so it won't be the best time to text that guy. But let's go Bucks. But anyways, yeah, by Monday I might be able to.
No, the reason why I'm saying the reason. Yeah, no, for sure. The reason why I'm saying this, I'm just really trying to show everybody here in terms of how to properly do research and analysis. When I'm talking in terms of the fundamentals, understanding the numbers, understanding the company's business, understanding the realm that they go into. Just to kind of leave it off here, you did speak about how they selling their medicine to a different country, right? Can you please speak about the third parties in terms of Medipharm and everything like that? Can you? I think that's one of the main part that I like about the company in terms of what it's doing right now. So can you go more dive into?
Yeah, so they're very diverse, and how they're doing it, in my opinion, is very smart. They're going to be hands-on themselves, so they're going to have their own pharmacy, like online, that you can get your prescriptions from. You can sign up to be a patient and just get a note from your doctor. That's how it's going to start. They're going to have their own recreational stuff and other tablets and like maybe like gummies and stuff like that. They're branching out a little bit just to get like some other products for their online store, which is supposed to launch, I believe, in June. They're Q1 2020. So anytime between May and July, they're going to launch that store. And that's when we could see a lot more revenue coming in just off that store alone. And they also have hands-off third party, like with Medipharm Labs, for example. Medipharm Labs sent them the product, so it's Medipharm's product at first. But Medipharm has a way into shoppers right now, whereas they don't. So when they get this product from Medipharm, what they're going to do is take Medipharm stuff, turn it into their tablets, ship it back to Medipharm, and they're going to get it into shoppers for them, basically. So they have third-party people doing this too, or companies rather. And once it sells in shoppers, they're also going to get a piece of that pie because they're the one that turned it into tablets. So like Medipharm's profiting off them a bit. They're profiting off Medipharm for Medipharm doing the work. And then they're also going to be hands-on with their own products as they become patented with drug identification numbers, and they're going to make revenue off that too. But their business plan is genius because any licensed producer can do business with them. And because like if you're Afria or if you're Aurora or Canopy or Kronos Group or OGI or Hexo Corp or any of these weed companies, you can go to these guys and now you have a whole other brand of product. Like all those companies could go to CANNATAB and be like, we want to have an Afria tablet. We want to have a Kronos or Canopy tablet, right? So when they put that in the shoppers and the Rexalls and the PharmaSaves and any other drugstore, CANNATAB's going to be like, well, we turned them into tablets for you. So when they create those contracts, I don't know what they're going to be, but they're going to get X amount off of Afria selling it for them, sent back to them as profit as well, right? So CANNATAB's profiting off them, but they're not paying for the employees, the water, the soil, the land, the the plant nutrients, the waste, the disposal, the cleanup. They don't have to pay for that. All they're doing is saying, give us your stuff, we'll give it back, and you're going to give us some of the profit from it, whatever that contract might be. And I think that's a huge deal because that doesn't make them a competitor. It makes them a partner to anybody who wants to be. And that's a huge deal.
No, for sure, man. Great information, guys. And this is what I'm talking in terms of, breaking the company down. And I think one of the other things that, besides the patent that they get, and which is a great thing when a company can actually have rights to their patent, stuff like that. Can you go into explanation in terms of the export license to Europe that they have right now? And what could that mean in the future in terms of business-wise, right, for the company itself?
The last time
before you even answer that, we're going to think about Europe. We're going to think about the United States. We're going to think about many different countries that once they kind of go global, what does that mean in terms of revenue for that?
Oh my God, I can't even tell you the amounts of money. That would be stupid amounts of money that I can't even understand. I wouldn't have to work anymore. I know that. The last time I spoke to him, there wasn't too much information about the, let's see where it is here. I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah, the export licenses, they have approved product for export licenses in Australia and in Europe. And he said that he was guaranteed that he was going to ship some to Australia. They approved it. They just needed to have the export license. They have it. They also got the export license to Europe, so they can send it there right now, but there is no current known orders for that. So he couldn't really go into detail. He doesn't want to estimate or take a guess or lead his investors in the wrong direction. But the only thing we do know is distribution-wise, it is set up so that they can legally send it there as well. But they haven't yet.
I think once they do that, you can imagine how people might react, right? In terms of buying the stock, that's really a positive thing for them. Yeah, and last but not least, just to kind of keep, yeah, bro.
I was only going to add one more thing to that too. They are keeping their hands clean because they plan to go to the Toronto Stock Exchange. I believe they said they do want to get there eventually to the Toronto Stock Exchange, and they won't be able to do business in the States, and they want to stay clean of that because there's a lot of regulations for selling weed from Canada to the States. There's a lot of problems with that right now due to the federal law. But the second it's federally approved and that bill goes through and like cannabis will be legal in the States federally, no longer Schedule III drug, he is very excited because he knows he'll have partners in the States. He'll try to make partners in like Colorado or California. I would assume those are the biggest states for that. California would be massive because they have more people than all of Canada combined. But once it's federally legal, they have full plans to attack and make partners in the States, to be able to ship there, to open up shop there, and to be able to sell there. And that will be massive considering their population in the US is almost 11 times what ours is in Canada right now.
No, yeah, I think if they get that exposure, man, whew, and we could even think about the listing in terms of in the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange or whatever the case may be, of all the opportunities that it may have. I think the last question, I'm going to leave it about this. We did speak about them going to Europe, then possibly coming to the US if they open the door. You did speak about in terms if the company keep growing in positive EBITDA, positive EPS, they might be looking into share buyback. So give a definition what is buying back shares? What does that mean to investors? And why do we look to that as a positive thing rather than a negative thing?
Okay. First off, I'm giving full disclosure. I'm not promising that they're going to buy back shares. I can't say that for certain. All he told me is that if they make enough revenue like any company does, he would be interested in such a thing. Now, what this means is if the share float, for example, is 10 million, right? I'm going to use simple numbers. If there's 10 million shares and they were to buy back half of them, so say they bought 5 million shares back, that would never happen, but I'm just saying these easy numbers. What that would mean is the stock float was this big, and now the stock float gets cut in half. But when a stock float gets cut in half, it means the price of the stock will double because when it goes back to the price to earnings ratio, the amount of money invested in the stock as a market cap divided by the number of shares gives you the total price of the stock. So if there's 10 million shares and there's $10 million invested in the company, the shares are worth $1. But if 5 million of those shares disappeared and there's 10 million invested in the company, now the stock's worth $2 because there's less shares. The market cap determines the price of the stock. And the amount of shares, if there's 10 million shares, you need $10 million in investment to be $1, right? So if there was $5 million invested, the stock would be 50 cents. Is everyone kind of following that?
No, everybody is following with that, guys. Just to kind of like put that in,
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I
Got
want
it.
to be sure on that.
So you guys can understand is right. Like Justin just explained to you guys, a stock buyback or share buyback, whichever you want to call it, that is a way for a company to reinvest in themselves, right? They absorb the shares from the market, which means that the outstanding shares on the public market, on the open market, is reduced, which is what he just explained to you guys. Because now they're buying back shares, guess what happened? Now there are fewer shares on the market, which is why for people that's already in, they're doubling their value in a way, right? Because now there's less shares on the market to purchase. But as investors, Justin, can you explain as to why we see that as a positive thing?
Well, that would be positive for multiple reasons. The first one is it's directly correlated to that price to earnings ratio we talked about, because if there's less shares,
right,
the price to earnings would go up because there's less shares on the price. So the stock would automatically have a higher value. And the biggest thing about that would be if there's only 35 million shares in this float, which I think there currently is, which isn't a lot, by the way, and almost half the stock is already owned. Like I consider it like thrown in a bank or a vault, like it's just kind of thrown away. No one can buy those ones. They're being hoarded, basically, which is a good thing. We want them to be hoarded. We want people to hold them as much as possible because it pushes the price way up through the roof. The more people have, the more expensive they become. But also the thing is with what Darius said, the less stock there is, the more valuable it can also become for the reasons we just explained. So if there's 35 million and it goes down to, they buy 3 million shares back, whatever that percent would be, 32 out of 35, that might be like maybe an 8% decrease in stock or so, 7% decrease in stock. That means the stock would immediately jump 7 or 8%. And now, instead of needing $35 million in the stock to add another dollar to it, you only need 32, right? So every time it takes away a share, it takes less money for the price of those remaining shares to go up. And with a company that has a stock flow this low, anything they take out would be fantastic for the percentage points, because it's not like you're dealing with a few hundred million here, right? Exactly. If they take away 3 million, they're buying back 7% of the stock float. That might not sound like much, but now you need $3 million less dollars every single time invested to make that stock go up another dollar. So every 32 million invested is another 7% for you, which is a huge deal in that example. And I'm not saying they're going to buy back exactly anything, but it's that's just an example piece. But every time that they buy back stock, your price goes up on automatic. It can't go down.
Yeah. And also, too, just for you guys to remember, too, just remember they're buying it from the shareholders. So sometimes they're actually paying a higher price than the market value of those shares, right? So just to kind of put this out there, I'm going to give you guys a few pointers in terms of the reason why a company does buybacks. And Justin, which I think he mentioned about 4 of them, right? To improve the earnings per share. It could be also to improve the return on capital. It could also be about to prevent unwelcome takeover bids. You know, sort of like when Justin spoke about how they came with many different offers to them under market value, they still didn't sell, or even on top of the market value, they still didn't sell. So there's so many reasons why they do that. Another reason on top of my head I could think of, if they do a share buyback, that could be to service the equity more efficiently too, right? So there's so many reasons in terms of the reason behind it, the advantage as an investor, why we like it. If you guys remember a couple, I think 4 earnings ago in Domino's Pizza, they didn't have a bad quarter, but it didn't beat the street estimates, right? We was expecting more from them. And the stock dropped. Literally, the CEO came out, made an announcement, we're doing $1 billion share buyback, and automatically the stock went bananas. So we as investors, we love to see when companies do share buybacks, and we could actually make a prediction. It's not for sure, like Justin said. Full disclosure, we don't know if they're going to do a share buyback, but the way they're going right now with that much money coming in, it wouldn't be such a bad idea if we were presented with that option in terms of the company doing the share buybacks. So now, this is just a little preview, guys, in terms of how research is being conducted.
Hey, yo, Darius.
You guys know. What's up, bro?
Real quick, can I add one more really important thing to that we didn't touch on? Like one super important thing?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
when it comes to earnings per share, remember how I said remember how I said that's the most important number for any stock ever? The reason for guys like us, guys like myself, I'm trying to find something undervalued that could grow. Central banks, bankers, big money lawyers, anyone who makes six-figure salaries, right? Anybody who has their investing guy that they go to talk about all this shit. This stuff doesn't even appear on their radar, and there's a reason for that. The earnings per share is negative or the earnings per share is low. When the earnings per share gets really high, the higher that gets, the bigger the money starts pouring in, because the higher the EPS, the safer the company. So if you start getting towards like Amazon, for example, when they're $8 to $10 earnings per share, or like, their Google or Facebook, you don't even have to know what they are. You just know the earnings per share are good. They're such great companies, right? They own our planet right now, essentially, right? But the thing is, when the earnings per share goes up really high, kind of like how Afri is doing right now, the higher the earnings per share, the bigger money starts coming in. You start going from guys like us who wanted to find the undervalued to small family offices, small funds like Darius has. Then it goes up to family hedge funds. And then it's going to get to like brokers and banks, and then they're going to start recommending it to their clients. The higher the earnings per share, the bigger the money comes in later. And when that big money comes in, it's proof that we made a smart decision now.
Yeah, no, for sure, guys. Great information, especially when we're talking about a high EPS. To break that down again, just to kind of give you guys a preview, like he said, when we think in terms of profits, right, and when we think about the shareholders, why do you think that one of the two metrics that they use in terms of when they're announcing their reports is their earnings per share and their revenues, right? Because the higher the earnings per share, the more profitable it is, and the more money they could distribute back to their shareholders. That's why it's so important in terms of what Justin just said in terms of the money, which we can even relate that to a component of the price to earnings ratio, because all these things pretty much derive from each other, right? You could actually calculate each one from one another, which we're going to get into that. And that's about it right now. I think we open the floor to anybody who has any questions about the stock, or even about in terms of fundamentals on the basics level, right? Because we don't want to run, right? If we're going to make a lot of money in the market, we actually have to understand every part of the market. And I think one of the most important things to me is the fundamentals. Like I tell you guys, the technical is good and all, but fundamentals, you cannot ignore fundamentals. They're there. People will see value. Say that again, Justin.
Sorry. I was also going to show you guys really quick too in the webcam here. I'm not screwing around with these guys. I have a lot of my buys from last year still written down. It's in the first page of my portfolio there. You can see it. Oh, sorry. It just shows in last March 18th, 19th, 20th, where I had a majority of my first buys, and I started adding after that. But I was buying these guys at 30 cents when, I don't know if you can see it better. I started buying these guys at 30 cents when they had almost nothing. They just had an idea and like a skeleton of a building to produce it in. But when they're talking about having insurances cover them as medical prescription marijuana, that is worth more than recreational ever could be. And that's what made me like it so much, because doctors can't prescribe it, and you have to go to a third-party clinic because doctors can get sued for malpractice. That's the biggest problem every North American doctor's having right now. This is going to be a non-synthetic pharmaceutical standard-made cannabis tablet in all forms, THC and CBD and mixes. And when the doctor is certain that they can prescribe the same thing to me or anybody else in this room right now, and within maybe 15 to 30 minutes, depending on body size, you're going to get the exact same effects for everybody. That eliminates third-party clinics and allows doctors to prescribe it. And when doctors can prescribe it, that means that insurances will cover it. And when insurances cover it, you can go to your doctor. You don't got to pay for it online anymore. You're going to just write a prescription. The insurance is going to buy it for you, whether you have a minimum wage job with benefits all the way up to any job that has benefits for you. And that's what the end goal is. And if we make it that far, I'm almost certain with that kind of money, we would all be rich. I'm not trying to like pump it. I'm not trying to bullshit. That's the kind of money that we're talking about, guys. Like this is real money stuff. And anyone who's listened to everything I said, I'm sure they can start to make sense of at least most of it.
Yeah. And let me kind of stop you right there, Justin, because one of the most important things that Justin is doing, he's putting pieces together. It's like a puzzle to see like what can the end results be, and that's the perspective part about investment that we all should have in terms of doing that fundamental analysis. We have the numbers, we have the way that they do their operation, we have the deals that they're making, we have the partnership that they're making. Now, how can we process all that information to be like, okay, if this actually happens, this is exactly what that company could be worth in the future. And I think that's one of the things that we need to add to our fundamental analysis for the people that are listening, right? Just being able not to only go through the numbers to see how much cash they're generating, what are their expenses, what are their liabilities, but to kind of understand their service, the process of that operation, or how they're going to achieve that goal that they're looking for. Because like Justin said, nothing is set in stone, right? Because there might be some problem ahead. It is a risk. Any type of investment that we're making, it is a risk, but it is a very calculated risk, right? Because that's where that conviction comes in, because we have the information behind it, we have the numbers, and we actually understood their products. Before I even let everybody speak, I remember Justin, I think you emailed me, but I don't remember. Remember the email that you sent to me in terms of how they break down the process and everything like that? For the pill?
I'm trying to
remember. It was a
remember.
presentation that they were doing, and you had to.
Oh, the presentation. I was gonna say I remember.
Yeah, but I'm gonna ask.
Email. I can probably describe it if you tell me exactly what you're looking for.
Do you have that presentation? Because you sent it to me. I looked at it a while back then, because you know we've been talking for a minute. But
you mean the?
But I'll find it in the email
website, right? Like the corporate presentation, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a presentation where like he was talking to us like this. I didn't know you meant the corporate presentation.
Oh no. That one we weren't able to even record that one, so that was fine. But I think I have it in my email. I will definitely send it to everybody. But guys, the floor is open if you guys have any concerns or questions. And of course, with all these information, you guys should be going to fact check any one of us of everything that we said on this live right now. Behind any type of investment, there needs to be conviction. If you do not have conviction and you're going by what the next man or the next woman is saying, then you know you're not an investor. You're just somebody that wants to just buy in and sell out. You know what I mean? But there needs to be conviction behind every type of investment. Even with all this great information that we give you guys, it is your duty to do your due diligence, to go look into the company and see why it could be a valuable company in the near future. So right now, if you guys have any questions, whatever it is, I think I'm welcome to answer any questions. And of course, Justin as well. I think we're gonna put a window of, let's say it's 3:05. Let's try to end this thing by like 3:25, 3:30 Eastern time. So any question you guys are welcome to ask, just, let me know right now. Going once, going twice.
I hope no one fell asleep while I was spitting information over here, man. I know I gave a lot, but that's what I do. This is how I make money in stocks. This is you'll never see me trading much, guys. Like information like this is where I find my value. This is what I'm good at. So I'll probably appear on here from time to time. CANNATAB's definitely my biggest holding. CANNATAB's definitely my most valued in my opinion. I only own 2 other stocks, and one of them is a Bitcoin fund. So I'm just part of a small group of outsiders and weirdos that is buying undervalued weed stocks and Bitcoin while the rest of the world's buying big tech. So let's see if this works out.
Yeah, so guys, any more questions? If not, we're gonna end the live right now. Again, this is the floor for you guys to pretty much ask any questions you want to ask about the company or even about fundamentals itself. So why does Justin go do all that work and actually you see him using a notebook just writing all these information down? Why is he going through that process? The floor is yours. If you guys do not have any question within the next 5 minutes, I will end the live.
I got a question. So what's the ideal debt to asset or asset to debt ratio you look for?
What's the asset to debt ratio?
I mean, like debt to liabilities. I mean, asset to liabilities. My bad.
Asset to li. Give me 1 sec. I gotta go find exactly what I wrote down here. So, asset to liabilities. Right now, their cash and short-term investments are currently at 1.2 million, and their long-term assets are at 667K. Keep in mind, again, they just started making revenue like in November, so that's pretty good start. Their physical assets are worth 1.7 million. Their overall equity is worth 3.6 million, and the liabilities is only at 664K. So they're outweighing their liabilities by a lot. Like I was describing earlier, they don't have to pay for all these monstrous things that these other companies have to pay for. They're a tiny little place. They don't have a lot of overhead. They don't have a lot of space to pay for. They don't have a lot of employees. So that those liabilities are never going to be too high. And some of the machines that they are using to produce these tablets are already paid off. And the other couple, I forget what company they're renting it from right off the top of my head, but the other ones they're currently renting, but they're, in the scheme of things, inexpensive.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, so Ro, did that answer your question?
Yeah, partially, but I'm like just like, yeah, partially, but I'm just saying, just in general, like the ideal asset to liabilities, like the ratio number itself, like
Darius, would there be a ratio for that, or is it kind of like dependent on whatever the company's assets are? I don't know if there's a specific ratio that should be.
I would say because of the time frame.
That would relate to the debt to asset ratio.
You sound low. What you said, bro?
Say that again.
Oh, what I was saying is because of the time frame, like you have to look at this business started in November. So you have to give it time for his balance sheets to look decent. And to look at a company debt to income ratio, usually you need to give the company 5 years. So to just see where they've been since November, this is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think one of the things we could even look at is the debt to asset ratio, which they don't have much because most of their equipment, as Justin just mentioned, they already paid for, and the one that they're renting is very inexpensive. But overall, when you go through a balance sheet, you always want to see the asset overrate the liabilities, right? Yeah. Because then we could move into the liquidity ratios in terms of the current ratios. How quickly can they turn some of their assets into cash, especially those that are already paid out? That's theirs right now. So when we're talking about real estate, when we're talking about their equipment, they could easily turn it into cash if there was some big issue down the line that they need to pay off. But like Abby said, you got to give the companies time. So for this one per se, we can't really put a number to it. I don't even think on any type of sites that you go to, they will give you that number because there hasn't had pretty much anything. You got to give it time to really break that down. But overall, bro, whenever you're looking at the balance sheet, bro, assets always has to overrate the liabilities or equals the same. If liabilities are more than their assets, that's a red flag already when you're going through the numbers, right? And again, it's just about keeping up with the company. But overall, assets over liabilities.
Yeah, and the other thing too there is they made their official first sales on December 14th, 15th range, and their quarter ended November 30th. So we can't even look at it on a balance sheet till their next quarter comes out at the I would believe would be the end of February, I think.
Correct.
Or wait, no, was the last quarter?
I
Their
actually
last,
pulled up.
actually, wait, no, their last quarter was the end of January, so we wouldn't be able to see it till the end of April. Sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
I was agreeing with you. I pulled up their balance sheets. There's not at this point, because of the company being a baby, and this is what I call a company. If you actually looking at their numbers when they're in their first quarter, there's not much you can really dissect. You can't really diagnose a company that is such at an early stage. What you can pretty much do is look at the vision and the mission of the company. Because they're so brand new, that's pretty much what you're going to have to focus on. What is the mission? What is the vision of this company? Because their first quarter, before I can even give advice on a company, I need to at least see 4 quarters. So because it is just, we're not even evaluating or diagnose the first quarter, there's not much to say. But if you look at what their vision is, you know, where they want to go, how are they willing to build income? You know, where is the money is going to come from? And where it's coming from, is it stable? Is there stability? Is it going to be consistent cash flow? Or are we just trying to make a whole bunch of money at one time? Because you want to look at consistency of cash flow. Are they going to have consistency of cash flow? Are they going to have inventory? You know, the idea that they don't have debt is amazing, because usually a company start off with debt.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
the idea
one of the reasons I see value here, and I'm glad that you can see it too, because not too many companies under $1 have everything we just discussed attached to it. It's really rare to find that, I would say.
Or the vision itself, it seems like they have an amazing business plan.
I agree.
I agree to 100%. But anybody else have any question, guys? This is the time. Do not be afraid to ask questions. And this is what we learn. And this is what I'm talking about, fundamentals. Nobody here should be quiet. I know we have got a couple of new people, but everybody here should be having, you know, a decent amount of questions so that we can be better at this. You know, it's not just about making the money, but
I do have a question.
What's going on, Abby?
My question was marketing. What are their plans to market the company? And do they actually have a budget for marketing? Because they're very low key.
I'm gonna go through my notes and check on that if I ever asked it.
I would think that if you ever speak with them again, ask them about their marketing. What are their goals? What are their plans for marketing? What is the budget for marketing? Because that's going to be a big piece for them, especially the generation that they're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is everything for that generation.
I 100% agree with you. That's actually a question I don't have on my list here. Thank you. I should have thought of that.
Yeah. So no, that is a great question. I think they do have a department for that as well. I don't know, Justin, is Eric Malinsky still there?
Is who, sorry?
Eric Malinsky, because he was the director of marketing at CANNATAB.
I believe so,
there?
yeah.
I think he is, right?
I think I've seen his name on this.
I think he is.
Buying shares.
Yeah, so you guys can most definitely go to the investors relation. All that information is actually there in terms of how they are going to market this company. And there's also a presentation there too that you guys could actually look at in terms of the process of what they're doing. Yeah. So definitely go through this and you find out that they do actually have a marketing thing. I didn't really ask them that question, but that is a great question. I think if we can get the CEO to speak to the CEO again, that's one of our top questions that we're going to ask them.
Yeah, I would believe, really haven't even. This is just my belief. I would believe that they would have something in place that they're planning for that, but keeping in mind that they just got their first revenue. Before this, they never had any money to spend on that because they refused to dilute the stock, right? They didn't want to raise money and dilute the stock. They were patient enough to let their idea take its own form. So I definitely believe that now that they're entering commercial sales and they're out of research and development, that this is something that's very soon to be near the top of their priority list. And I'm assuming that because they've done everything in order the way they should, and they've done everything to protect their investors. They really care about them. They're not diluting stock. They're not selling under market value, none of that garbage. I would assume that's going to be near the top of their priority list as more sales start coming in, but I haven't actually heard anything on that as of yet right now.
All right, awesome. I know I'm gonna actually dig a little bit too when it comes who's the director of marketing there and what is kind of like their budget or what is their budget for marketing. Because believe it or not, in any company, you know, that is the biggest expense is marketing.
Mm-hmm. You're definitely right.
I would like to ask
for sure.
when they can start trading, daily trading on Robinhood and all the platform.
So you only will find that on a more experienced brokers, I would say. TD Ameritrade, Schwab's. It's an OTC stock. And you're not gonna find it on Robinhood. Most of the stocks that we've been picking up right now are not even on Robinhood. So
yeah, there are a couple platforms. My buddy had to go buy CANNATAB on another platform because on Robinhood I don't think you can. It might be considered risky security. So on some websites you can't, but like on all the major banks you can.
Yeah, for Ameritrade, you would need to contact them, but for E-Trade, it's already available. I actually already pulled it up. And on E-Trade, it's available. Ameritrade, you would need to contact TD Ameritrade for it.
And have a broker put the trade through for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Get it, but you just have to ask.
Thank you.
Yep.
No problem. Any more questions, guys? Those are pretty good questions, though, by the way. Great questions. So just keep it coming. Well, I guess everybody learned a lot today then. Samuel, Diane, Mr. Sanin, Money, Tafari, Sabi, Rosa, any question? If not, we will.
No question yet. I think it's quite clear, right? I just have to sit and process some information myself. But that was a very very informative, very clear.
Yeah, the presentation was excellent. That's why I think no one has questions because he was very clear and concise with what he presented to us.
I was just gonna say thanks to everybody because no questions means I covered it to a great deal that everyone's just kind of analyzing right now.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a lot of information to share with people. A lot of times I share it and people don't even listen, so it's nice when people do. Because
thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, man.
No, I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, man. No problem.
Yeah, man. So we do also. I think I'm gonna have Justin on here a couple of times, especially if he does have the time. You know, that's one of the person I could rely on to do research and actually break down the company from the beginning to the last page of their books. You know. He's really good at that. And like you said, it's self-taught. Some of us, we actually went to school with that. What is very impressive about him, he taught himself that. I think, that's one of the approach that we should take as investors in the market because we work for our money. We do not want to keep losing our money. And if we're going to put our money in something, there's that thing that I always keep talking about, that conviction. So having these fundamentals, having these numbers behind it, having that conviction, will tell you know what, let me put my money where my mouth is. So thank you, Justin. I think this was a great session. I think we learned a lot, bro. Definitely next week we might do another episode again for the other stock that we're in. But we're gonna leave it a surprise. We're not gonna tell everybody right now. We're not gonna tell everybody right now.
We trying to get in early though.
We're gonna be a little greedy right now. So guys, it is your duty to actually do your homework. I think we could actually come back. Say that again?
My only issue is when I'm going to buy the stock, I have to contact TD Ameritrade, and they're going to charge me, I think, a higher broker fee than usual. I don't know. There's
no. They only charge you $6. I think.
You could argue that. You could be like, yo, I've been trading. You could literally argue that. I always argue with them. Like, I've been trading with them for a while, and they could see the transactions, they could see the records and stuff like that. And if they keep threatening you, be like, well, you got to pay the market. Nah, be like, you know what? I'm going to remove all my money, and I'm going to go to Schwab's. And guess what? automatically they will say, "Oh, this is a one-time offer, whatever," and they actually do it.
Yeah, one-time
Trust me,
offer
that's
just for
way-
you, man.
Yeah, no, for
Just
sure.
tell them you're
Don't even fall for
moving your
that.
money, and they won't give you a
Don't
problem.
fall for that, man.
Okay.
Because when you move your money, they
That's
lose.
all you have to say because they need you to make money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. When a client moves their
Yep.
money, they lose all the trade fees forever. They don't want to lose. That's how they make their money, man. They don't want to lose those trade fees.
Same thing with banks. So if they do that for credit cards and stuff, you can waive all your fees.
Yep, 100%. You can. They make enough off the interest anyway.
It's little tips like that. I think we could educate ourselves and to take advantage of the market itself too. But yeah, I think that's nothing to worry about. Can't even worry about those fees. You could always argue that. But besides that, guys, any more questions, Sam? Jimmy?
I have a quick question.
What's up? What's up?
It's Danica. So I've been having a hard time buying what is it called? There was the stock like the pink sheet or over the counter stock, whatever, I think that's how you call it. So when buying it, it gives me like an error message saying that I should buy it limit. But when I try it, but it's not really letting it go through. So what's your advice on it? Or
the two things I do know, you should call your broker and ask. Sometimes they have to place a trade for you if their platform deems it too risky. And
okay.
CANNTAB also, you cannot buy at market value. You have to put a purchase order in according to the level 2, or like whatever the asking price is. You can't just say buy at market value. I think, I could be wrong, but I think the reason they do that is the share structure is so tight. If someone goes to sell at market value, that shit could rise or drop like a rock and cause people to panic, right? Or like if there's a margin call on it, the stock can go from 80 cents to 50 cents in like 10 minutes, right? Because level 1's so weak because the share structure is so tight. I don't know if that's 100% certain, but it could be possible. That's what I think.
I actually called my broker because I had that same issue with buying. I was trying to buy ENZC, and they pretty much said like good to do a limit order, just put it a little bit higher than what it's trading at currently, and it will take your order.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's helpful. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, I spent like 2 hours waiting for an answer for that question on Friday.
Yeah, and sometimes there's no need to chase anything, right? And you guys can put those limit orders there instead of a market order. And if you're seeing that for 2 days straight, you can't get that bid, you're gonna have to give that ask price. People are greedy like that, especially if I'm in a trade. I'm gonna try and take as much money as possible. So you also have to take in consideration people that are actually trading that stock as well. They don't want less for it. But not only that, like Justin just said, just give them a call, and I think it'll be a lot easier that way too, to take the stress off your hands. And of course, if they talk about fees again, you could argue your way out. I always do that. I'm cheap. I'm sorry, but that's just how I am. I don't like to overpay for things.
Nope.
But yeah, guys, any more questions? Jern, Tafari, any concerns, any questions or things you want to bring to the light?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Doris, I would like to pay my membership, but I don't have access to do it. So later on, I would like you to go over it with me.
Yeah, matter of fact, I'll have Phil contact you right now, actually, or later on, I'll have Phil contact you.
All right, waiting for it.
No problem. But I think Jern was about to say something. What up, Jern?
Yo, I'm listening to the information, man. Yo, Justin, that was a critical breakdown, man. I like that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
That was a critical breakdown. You and Will put together, like, yeah, I love that. You know what I mean? Better understanding of what's going on, especially, like the whole intricacy behind the company. Yeah, I love that. The breakdown was good.
I appreciate when people appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. But definitely Monday, I'm gonna start looking into that more. Yeah.
Do you guys recommend?
Sir,
I would just start looking into it before their online store comes up.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
what I was
definitely,
going to ask.
definitely.
Do you guys recommend that we start off with a small amount of shares and then grow slowly adding to it as an investment?
You can average your way in, but like this is a company where there's not a lot of volume all the time. So like it could be 70 cents one day, it could be 80 cents the next day. But like I've never really seen it truly explode or anything. It kind of just floats for a long time sideways. But when the revenue starts coming in, that could really change. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it comes to
I
charts,
honestly believe
if it comes to charts, you got to ask Darius. I think he would agree with me on that, but I think averaging in would be best. Pick apart the 70-cent stock when you can, the 72, 74, because it does go up in around 84 range a lot. But if you can get them 10 cents cheaper, it's just more in your pocket.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
But
First
once
thing
the
smoking Monday morning.
I was going to say, once the revenue comes in and it's certain and it does pop, you will never get those prices again because these are technically still pre-revenue prices, right? Anywhere from 40 to 80 cents is pre-revenue prices. Keep that in mind. Post-revenue, you're probably not going to see that anymore.
True, true, true. Good information, man. Good information.
And we still have anywhere from 4 to 6 months of leeway from now before their online store comes in. And that's the only, looking forward, if you eliminate any possibilities, that's the only for sure thing coming forward with real revenue. I'm sure they're going to make other deals, but I don't like to speculate on anything. So when that comes out, that online store, that's going to be guaranteed revenue above and beyond what they have right now. So that alone will make the company more valuable. So I would recommend getting shares because before that store opens and the online pharmacy, because that would be real revenue continuous after that point.
Definitely, definitely.
Let's let my rest.
But yeah, guys, I think my suggestion rather than advice would be, like he said, to average in. You never want to put all your basket. Again, we're investors, we're very smart at it. Again, it is your due diligence to look deeper into the company with all the information that has been provided today so that you can have a pretty good understanding of what that company is and where you should buy in. Like Justin says, this thing sometimes takes a lot of time to move because they don't have any catalyst news going on for them right now. But once they actually start having those revenue coming in big chunks, you might actually see this company start moving really, 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 really well. We did a pop for quite some time to around 80 cents, and now it did find support around the 45 cents level. There's not much to look at in terms of the chart, but you guys could see, I think when Justin first mentioned it to me,
that's
I 50,000 shares around 29.
Hey, Darius, real quick, you're talking American pricing, right?
Yeah, I'm talking American pricing, yeah.
Yeah. When I was saying 70 to 80 cent range, I was talking Canadian. So for you guys, that might be around 65. I forgot to mention that. For me, I'm in Canada, so for me, I'm buying at 72, 74 a lot.
So yeah, that's the price it's trading in, right now, like 60-something cents right now.
So we have pretty good, we got pretty good support around 45 levels. Sort of like a nice support. You guys can see how we bounced off the 200-day moving average around 49 cents. And now we're looking if we could possibly get that 73 cents again, we could actually test. The only thing we had to worry about in a technical standpoint is this area right here. And that could be due to things that haven't happened yet. But once those revenues start coming in, it'll be really easy for us to kind of like break through that supply zone and actually edge higher. And in no time, I think, especially once we have those deals coming in and that type of money, this thing will be above $1 or even $2. I have a pretty substantial amount of shares in that company. Again, I invest different from quite many investors. Whatever money that I invest in any company, I make it back to the point where I am not worried about that money invested. So if you guys are using your money to invest, make sure you buy in increments and make sure it's not money that you need for your day-to-day life because this is not a trade, this is an investment.
Hey, Darius, could you do me a real quick favor too, just so I can show everybody here? Can you bring up the 1 year chart if that's possible? Like just 1 year ago today till now? I just want to show everybody that it's like,
I mean, you're basically
like it's really a tight range stock minus last March when it tanked. But like, whoa, that's small. But yeah, once he pulls it up, guys, when you see a 1 year chart going forward, you're going to see like really, really basic ranges. It doesn't sink below here. Take out last March when everything got obliterated. But like generally, you're going to see between like 60 and 80 cents Canadian almost the whole way through, minus a couple of small pops here and there. But like it's really settling around it's settled around the 60-cent range for a long time. Then it's up to 70, 75 with the recent news. And I can only assume with more news and patents and revenue, it's going to keep finding new ranges and going like this. Let's climb the stairs, right? But there's really not huge highs or super lows. Outside of last March, I mean,
this is definitely a long-term goal, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, if you try to trade
guys,
this stock, you're
this
going to
is
get
it.
obliterated.
This is not a trade.
It's not a trade. If you try to trade this, you're going to get obliterated. There's no volume. The level 1's always weaker than the level 2, and you're going to get obliterated trying to trade this stock. Like you can't, because there's going to be no buyers down that low unless you sell it a loss. Once you own it, the share structure is so tight, like you're buying it. There's a good graph. You see how it's kind of like outside of the first like inch of the graph, it's all ranged. That's what we're looking at. It just kind of floats. But I can see it going like this as the revenue comes in. I can see it going like that as the patents and the drug identification numbers come in. I mean, I want to see it go like this, but steady climb with information's better, easier to track.
Big bet. All right. Thank you. Deuces.
I just wanted to start to show you guys what I'm talking about.
Yes,
like,
sir.
It is really a tight range.
You guys have a good day.
All right.
All right, you too, bro.
But like I said, guys.
All right, Justin. Thank you, bro. We'll talk later. All right.
Yep. I'm just happy everybody can see that, man. You take away the first 2 months of that graph, and there's really not much going there. It's just like minor dips, minor pops. It's nothing special. Slightly sideways, slightly up. That's really.
All right, everybody.
All right, thanks. Appreciate that.
All right, guys.
All right, man.
Of course, see you guys on Monday. All right.
Yeah. Bless up, everybody. Bless up.
All right.
All right, everybody.
If you found this video informative, leave a like and comment below. For more videos like this, subscribe to our channel to get alerts when the next one comes out.